Sound of a heavy thud followed by a roar. You know, some days you just want a nice quiet dungeon crawl. Maybe find some treasure, fight a few goblins. But nope, not for us. Not when we're dealing with golden giants who apparently have a serious anger management problem. We had just taken down the first one. It crashed to the floor in a shower of gold dust, and for a second, just a split second, I thought, hey, maybe this won't be so bad. That's when his buddy decided to throw a tantrum. The remaining giant stood there, its eyes literally blazing with fire. And I'm not talking metaphorically. Actual flames were licking out of its eye sockets. Then the light show started. Lasers shot out, deflecting off the stone walls of the chamber, bouncing in every which way. It was a chaotic disco of death. Sinju and I were diving and weaving, the heat from the beams singing the edges of our clothes. While we were playing a deadly game of dodgeball, Amira, our resident little witch, finally got bored. She'd been sitting on a rock, munching on a bag of candy like she was at the movies. The candy bag vanished with a poof, and she hopped to her feet. She looked at the giant, then at us, and yelled a chant in a language I still don't understand. Something that sounded like Krav Magthor. As the words left her lips, Sinju and I started to glow. A deep violet flame erupted around our bodies, not burning, but empowering. It was a protection spell, a serious upgrade. And what did Amira do after casting this incredible piece of magic? She conjured a floating TV and started watching cartoons. Seriously, but hey, I wasn't going to complain. With this purple fire dancing around me, I felt faster, stronger. The air itself felt thick, like I could push off it. Sinju, with his dragon scale cloak swirling, was a blur of motion beside me. We shared a look. Time to go to work. I pushed off, closing the distance in a heartbeat. The giant was still firing lasers, but now I could almost see them coming in slow motion. I got right up in its face and unleashed everything I had. A double sword attack in one hand, my elemental blade blazing with fire and ice. In the other, my shadow sword, its white handle a stark contrast to the darkness it commanded. Double slash. The blades hit home, carving deep into the giant's golden form. Chunks of solid gold flew off, clattering against the floor. But instead of falling, something weirder happened. The giant began to shrink, collapsing in on itself until it was our size. It let out a guttural yell, a sound full of rage and pain, and rushed me. It was impossibly fast. I barely got my shadow blade up to deflect its punch. The impact sent a shockwave up my arm. Before I could recover, a golden boot slammed into my stomach. The world went sideways as I was sent flying, crashing into the far wall. The air left my lungs in a whoosh, and that purple fire flared, absorbing most of the damage. Still hurt like hell, though. As I struggled to my feet, I saw the golden man bearing down on me again. Thinking fast, I hurled my fire and ice sword. It spun end over end, a blur of red and blue. In that same instant, Sinju warped. He teleported through the shadows, snatched my sword right out of the air, and redirected its momentum into a vicious slice aimed at the golden man's face. But the thing was clever. It jumped back, dodging the blade, and slammed its fist into the ground. Once, twice, 3 times. Each time it punched, a brilliant golden light flared up from the spot, blinding and powerful. It let out this primal scream, "Ah!" and came at us again. What followed was just a blur, a brutal, desperate brawl. It was all kicks, punches, and pure muscle. We were fighting with everything we had, every ounce of strength the purple fire gave us. My swords were a whirlwind of shadow and elements. Sinju's movements were a phantom dance of death. It felt like hours, but it was probably only a few minutes. Finally, with one last coordinated strike, it was over. The golden man crumpled, his light fading until he was just a metallic statue on the cold stone. Sinju and I stood over him, gasping, our chests heaving. The purple flames died down, leaving us completely drained. I fumbled in my pouch, pulled out 2 healing capsules, and tossed one to Sinju. We popped them in our mouths, the familiar restorative energy slowly seeping back into our weary muscles. I looked around the wrecked chamber, then up at the ceiling, knowing there were more floors above us. A wide, tired grin spread across my face. Man, I panted, looking at Sinju. The other 2 floors better be just like this.